Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the screening of Breathing Free, Detroit's Journey to Zero Waste. This webinar is brought to you by Breathe Free Detroit and GAIA, the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives. GAIA is a global network of over 800 grassroots and national organizations from 92 countries around the world, working together at the intersection of waste and environmental justice. My name is María, Guillén, and I am the Communications Coordinator for the US and Canada at GAIA, and I'll be your moderator today. A quick housekeeping note before we begin. Chris Tandasso from GAIA will be managing our tech support and moderating the chat. If you experience any tech issues or have questions during this event, please use the chat box and we will be happy to assist. We have a great program for you today, including the screening of our featured mini documentary, a panel discussion with inspiring leaders from Detroit, and a brief Q&A session. Before we begin, I wanted to provide a bit of context of what brings us here today. What I thought would be a 30-second social media clip turned into a 20-minute documentary because there was clearly more to say about this community and its environmental justice struggle and the efforts being made to rebuild it. Breathe Free Detroit is a community and grassroots-led campaign which was formed to shut down the Detroit Incinerator and succeeded in 2019. Incinerator impacted communities are often also environmental justice communities. Detroit is one of the country's most polluted cities, home to the third most polluted zip code in the nation. Asthma hospitalization rates are 3 times higher than the state averages, and asthma death rates are twice as high. Since our inception, GAIA's work in the US has focused significantly on supporting communities challenging municipal solid waste incineration. We work closely with grassroots activists in heavily impacted communities to build skills, provide technical assistance, support and amplify organizing, and connect these activists to others nationally and globally. Breathe Free Detroit is a core partner of our Failing Incinerators project, a GAIA-coordinated initiative that works with a cohort of EJ organizations across the country that are pushing for the shutdown of their respective aging incinerators. To date, 3 of the 6 incinerators in this project have shut down, including the one in Detroit, thanks to the collaborative and tireless work of these organizers. This project and cohort have also played a crucial role in supporting other anti-incineration campaigns across the country, strengthening the broader movement for zero waste and climate justice. As GAIA celebrates its 25th anniversary this year, we reflect on the power of grassroots organizing and the impact of communities coming together to fight for environmental justice. Over the past 25 years, GAIA's network has grown into a global force, uniting advocates, researchers, and frontline communities to push for zero waste solutions and challenge false solutions like incineration. Our global network of members has been highly successful in not only organizing around the closure of existing incinerators, but also preventing the establishment of new ones. This work continues to be essential as we face increasing environmental and public health challenges, and today's discussion is an important part of that ongoing effort. With that, let me walk you through today's agenda. I'll kick us off with introductions. We'll screen Breathing Free, Detroit's Journey to Zero Waste. After the screening, we'll hear from our panelists, and each panelist will share their unique perspective and experiences. Afterwards, we'll open the floor to your questions in a live Q&A session. So let's take a moment to introduce our amazing panelists who also appear in this short film. Katie Morelli is a longtime Detroit activist and organizer with Breathe Free Detroit, whose grassroots campaign successfully shut down the city's incinerator in 2019. She works nationally and locally to advocate for environmental justice and a zero waste future. Darryl Jordan, or Baba Darryl, is a career organizer who has been working on environmental and climate justice since 1978. He is one of the founding members of Breathe Free Detroit and the former director of the East Michigan Environmental Action Council, and has worked with communities across Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. Though officially retired, Baba Darryl is still fighting the good fight and continues to collaborate with communities and organizations. Kevin Coach Kellogg Jones is a community activist, organizer, founder of Jonsin for a Greater Change, working to build stronger communities and collective growth in Detroit. Coach is also a current candidate running for Detroit City Council District 5. Jennifer Fassbender worked with Breathe Free Detroit in researching zero waste cities, particularly on varying strategies to keep organic materials from entering municipal waste streams in an effort to formulate a recommended strategy for the city of Detroit. And now let's move into the heart of today's event. We are proud to present Breathing Free, Detroit's Journey to Zero Waste. So without further ado, let's start the film. Apologies for the tech issues. I promise we tested it a bunch of times. But thank you so much for watching. Now let's hear directly from our incredible panelists about their work. So I want to start off with Coach. This documentary was filmed in April 2023. Looking back, what changes or progress have you seen in Detroit since then in the journey to zero waste?
So that was an awesome video. And I think it shows to us where we have been and where we're going. I've seen a lot of changes taking place. First of all, one of the major changes is people have become aware of what's really taking place in the environment. Me, as a young man who grew up in this particular area, we didn't understand the concept that this hazardous waste or this the environmental smoke and the incinerator was actually killing us. It was destroying the lives of the people who lived in this community. And now, honestly, even on our land, I've actually seen a pear tree begin to regenerate itself. And so I see that there's a great change taking place, but the fight is not over. We have to continue to press forward and begin to bring, not just because it's in our community or it's in the community of those in Southwest Detroit, but we have to bring everyone throughout the city because we are all affected. If it affects one, it affects all of us. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm running for city council in Detroit, that the people of Detroit will become more aware of what environmental justice really means and to how they can connect with people who knows more than they may know that will help save a life.
Thanks so much for that, Coach. Baba Darryl, do you have anything to add?
Yes, first thing, thanks, Sister Maria and KT. It was a great documentary to look at. And Coach, we need to elect you because part of the things that I wanted to say is that after more than 30 years of folks raising issues about the incinerator, nothing had happened. And one of the reasons is because the city was acting like nothing was wrong. And that one of the things that happened during our struggle when we was out there in the street, Breathe Free Detroit and East Michigan Environmental Action Council's street team, which was young people between the ages of 13 and 18, and we were able to go door to door and raise people's attention to what was going on. They already knew that the community was dealing with some serious issues. Folks had to breathe that stuff and deal with it. But we were dealing with issues. At one point, EMEAC, working with Olawabi, we had done a petition that had thousands of signatures and it went to the city. And I hate to be disrespectful to the mayor, but he had like he didn't know a damn thing. And so did nothing happen. And so one of the things that happened was during our struggle, we went door to door and talked to so many people and told them what was really happening. And that had some impact. The news and everybody began to raise the issue. And then the city had to act like they cared and had to do something about it. And so that the strategy was real important. And we got to do things like that because if it wasn't a community that had working class white people and a lot of Black folks in there, then folks would have paid attention, you know. Otherwise, they didn't care. And I'll talk about that a little more specifically about some of the people we interacted with and a lot of the organizations that supported us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I do want to say that the film highlights some of the incredible initiatives and advocacy efforts. So how have these projects evolved and what new efforts are underway in Detroit? And I don't know if maybe KT, you wanted to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in here just to tag on to a lot of what Baba Darryl just said. It's, shutting down an incinerator was a 33-year fight. And, when it shut down, it changed all of our lives, right? You guys talked about the smell of the rain in the film. And when the incinerator shut down and we got to smell rain without the smell of burning trash behind it, it was an entirely different community at that point. And so, yeah, there's so much advocacy efforts that made that incinerator shut down, right? So many people fought for so many years, and it's incredible to know that our community is healthier because of all of those efforts. And every community will be healthier from all of the efforts when these facilities are able to shut down. In the transition of the shutdown, we worked with the Mother Earth Foundation in the Philippines, who have put together some of the most beautiful decentralized multi-scale composting systems throughout many, many islands in the Philippines, and it works. So we were able to learn from what they've been able to succeed in and try to implement it here. But not only were we implementing it in that pilot from learning from them, but we were also uplifting the folks that lived around the incinerator who were fighting as a part of resistance, in knowing that whatever they threw away in their trash, we would be breathing in again. So the folks that lived around the incinerator were some of the biggest advocates for zero waste and composting, and had practices in their own home, just like in the Philippines, because we're sending the trash to these other places. The United States is sending our trash to these other places that then have to be forced to deal with it, right? We were getting trash sent in from all sorts of counties and states, and we had to deal with it in our backyard. And so the solutions exist within these communities. So the efforts that we continue to uplift since that incinerator has shut down are the efforts that have been born in the community, and the efforts that are true solutions, right? But might take a little bit more infrastructure support, or might take a little bit more funding to really make sure that it gets done right. But yeah, this is something that we're hoping to see more and more of, and our community is strong and showing why it should exist. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, KT. Coach, what about the work that's happening in Freedom Dreams? I know you're in this big city council race right now, but I know it's been almost 2 years since we filmed what's been going on in Freedom Dreams.
It's amazing, because I think when I talked about the pear tree, I think it was KT who found the first pear on the tree. But since then, we have we've planted about 8 fruit trees. We added about 6 more raised beds. We also are beginning to push more with our youth of how to compost with our compost bins. And so things are moving great within our borders. And we're just wanting to share everybody that beautification can really take place in the area in which we reside and which we work.
And I'll ask this to everyone: how has this movement impacted your communities so far? And what changes have you seen in people's awareness and involvement? And I can turn that to Baba Darryl.
Okay, if I can talk about some of the strategies and things that we need to be paying attention to. Because there were a lot of people in Detroit who was being impacted, and dealing with the smoke in the air and trying to breathe before we managed to shut that sucker down. And one of it is that when we talked about the people that was being impacted, there was an area where there were a lot of senior citizens living in a senior citizens project. There was another area that had a lot of college students who were going to Wayne State University, and they had apartments and stuff and was living over there. And then we had some areas that had lots of apartments that families with lots of children and stuff were living in there. And the senior citizens, they were right across the street from a major grocery store. And then certain times of the day, they couldn't even go out and walk to the grocery store or catch a bus, because when that stuff was up in the air, the stuff messed with them, how they breathed, and had real impact. And so even though that was going on and the city hadn't done anything, because see, we live in a world where when they create something, sometimes it starts out really good. People think it's a good thing. But after they find out that it's not good and it should be stopped, a lot of times the people making money just keep on doing what they were doing. And so Breathe Free Detroit and the EMEAC street team and a lot of other organizations, we were able to come together and start doing a whole lot of interacting with the people in the communities that were being impacted. And so as we began to do that, then we had some lunches with the senior citizens so that they found out more about it. And we partnered with Wayne State University students who helped us too. And what we did was going door to door talking to people and have them talking to us. And that created such gossip that the city had to deal with what we were talking about and stuff. And so that really helped. And so I know we live in a very technical world where we live like we in the Jetsons cartoon. But sometimes when we do that, folks are only interacting with the people who are doing the same thing, thinking about the same things that they are. But when you can get out in the community and go door to door and raise people's attention to what's going on and what's really hurting them, then you began to interact with everybody, no matter whether they understand what you're talking about, believe you, or want to support you, but you began to tell everybody. And that has the kind of impact that the people in the city had to do something. And that was because some of those developers that was building houses and making money and stuff, when the gossip got really big, they couldn't sell them houses and stuff. And so as they began to raise those issues, then Duggan had to chill out, and they had to begin to act like they was going to do something. And so we got to do that about these issues, especially when we talk about the air and the ground that we live in and the kind of trash that just gets thrown everywhere, because that impacts people. And if we don't tell them how it's impacting them and how they can help to stop it, then it'll just keep on, and the impact will get more and more and more and more dangerous. And so that's what I wanted to tell us, that we got to get into interacting with each other and talking to each other and getting support for each other.
Yeah, thank you so much, Papa Darryl, for sharing about the strategy and just that really important organizing door to door, like getting the youth involved is so important. I did want to turn it over to Jennifer. I know maybe with some of your work, how have you seen a difference in people's involvement and awareness?
Yeah, well, one of the big highlights of your film is Arboretum Detroit. It's an environmental justice project, as it was described in the film, just taking some of these empty lots and actually turning them into, quality spaces for a community that otherwise doesn't really have access to, quality green spaces. Yeah, an update, because you saw we saw several different lots that they had transformed in your film. And since then, they're actually nearly completed a whole green loop. So pretty amazing work, not only for the human community, but it's also really boosted the biodiversity. You heard all those birds and the place has really taken off quite a bit even since then. Also, I wanted to mention because that whole issue with Sam from Eagle, with the smell from US Ecology, that is a continuing, ongoing thing with our community. KT, the Detroit Hamtramck Coalition for Advancing Healthy Environments, other community actors, Coach, Kellogg, and others. We're continuing to try to negotiate with them. Just after we met with you, they were actually shut down under consent order for really awful violations. They were shut down for about a year. They've got some community projects in the works since then. And also, I did want to highlight that the Detroit Black Community Food Sovereignty Network was able to open up the Detroit People's Food Co-op earlier in 2024. And there's a big education push right now for the many benefits of bulk purchasing and bringing your own containers, because as all of us on this panel understand, we were the away when it comes to throwing away with all the packaging. So it's really nice to to kind of be connecting those dots. And so yeah, I feel Maria, just kind of directly to answer your question, the community is definitely gaining awareness. I feel like folks are more activated, feeling more empowered, and definitely to Baba, Darryl, people are starting to get connected. So it is very inspiring.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And I will ask this to all of you, what's your vision for Detroit moving forward, and how can people watching this documentary support the movement? And I'll start with Coach.
Coach, you're muted.
Okay, I got it. Okay. What is my vision for Detroit? I believe that people in Detroit should be able to breathe fresh air. I believe that we should come together and fight the forces that will prevent that. I think that the people of Detroit should help build this city the way it should be built, where we all can live in peace and harmony and don't have to worry about the elements of the air or the water or other forms of pollution that will destroy our lives. It's important because I didn't understand how asthma, I thought it was just something generic, but actually it is something that is created. And I think that we should move that out of our picture and be able to live healthier lives. I believe that the people here that is watching this documentary should join forces with us and come and let's make a better Detroit. Let's make it better than what it was, and what it can become will be amazing and beautiful.
That's awesome. Baba Darryl?
Yes. First thing, for those people watching this video that are in Detroit, if you're in the same area as Coach, remember you need to vote for him. But let me tell you something. One of the things that I think we need to understand is that we've been dealing with these issues for a long time in Detroit. Back in the 90s, I was working with the Nolan State Fair Neighborhood Health Empowerment Center. And even though it was a health center, we were dealing with a big issue in regards to folks having breathing problems and stuff, especially kids and stuff. And so it's not just the incinerator, but we're dealing with a lot of issues, because it was our problem too, dealing with Stellantis, which is Chrysler, because they put stuff out there in the air that be messing with the people who are very close to them. And so it becomes very important that we need to let folks know that what's happening and why they're being
Did we lose Bubba Darryl?
It looked like
Pretty
they
frozen.
frozen.
Okay, we'll come back to Bubba Darryl. KT
Oh, sorry.
or Jennifer, yes, please.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, yeah, less hazardous industries and more community. One of the things that we're working on right now with the Detroit Hamtramck Coalition is, you know, big players in Detroit, like the Maroon family. They came in and, you know, just wiped off a whole neighborhood of homes to put in a concrete facility in a neighborhood. And so we're hoping to have more community and less hazardous industries. So that's my sort of vision for the future of Detroit.
Love that. KT?
Yeah, sorry, I think Robert Darrell's texting. I think he got kicked out somehow. Hopefully we'll get him back. I think we're waking up to the hazards that are required to keep up capitalism, right? And Detroit is well steeped in the problems and hazards of capitalism. And at the same time, Detroit has always been a leader in environmental justice and social justice and racial justice. And the next generation is coming up and is going to be taking us into a new era of what environmental justice and social justice are going to look like. And we need to support them, right? So community leading in this development and healing from the soil on up is the future that I'm hoping for. And so I'm excited to see some new shapes and leaders from the young people that Bob Darryl has been showing the way. And yeah, that's my hopes for Detroit.
Thanks for sharing, KT. And I just wanted to see if maybe we can leave folks here with like some final thoughts. What lessons from Detroit's journey to zero waste can other cities or communities facing similar fights take away from your experiences? And I'll start with Coach.
Okay, and I'm glad you did. You know, I was just thinking about that, and I think the first thing that other communities must do is unite. They got to come together. They must join forces because there's more power in unity. The second thing is, I think that other communities and Detroit, we must begin to hold these companies accountable. Don't just come take from our city or destroy our communities, but help us to continue to build our communities. So I think that's one of the things I would share.
That's great. Jennifer?
Yeah, similar to Coach Kellogg, I would say just, yeah, standing up and being brave and bold and working together with all the different folks that you can connect with, because I think organizing is the key, because it's really there's so much angst to be alone, but when we're organizing together, as Baba Darrell's about to tell you, that's where the power comes in.
Great. Baba Darryl, you're back?
Yes, I'm back. I hope I wasn't being so crazy that I got eliminated by technology, but I think it's real important that we educate people and talk to them and tell them what they can do to help us make life better for us, you know, because the things that we're dealing with now might not seem as huge as the people who live very close to it is. But as time goes by, it becomes more and more dangerous. So 100 years from now, we're gonna all have a legacy, and that legacy is gonna be great, 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 great grandchildren and stuff. And so we want them to be living on an earth that they can live on and do the best that they can. So that means that we have to make factories and incinerators and corporations and cities and people that make decisions support making things better for the life of everybody. And so I'm going to shut up there, and I'm not going to say anything disrespectful at this point. All right, peace and love.
Thank you, Baba Darryl. Thank you, Baba Darryl. And KT, I'll let you close this out. What are some lessons that the folks watching can take away from Detroit's story?
Yeah, I guess the biggest lesson that I'm taking with me right now these days is that, you know, environmental justice is a fight not just for our environment, it's a fight for our health, it's a fight for our communities, it's a fight for investing back into our communities, it's a fight for infrastructure that should already exist in our communities. It's really hard right now to talk about environmental justice in the current climate that we have, but we can talk about all those other things and make sure that our fight continues. Because even in the hardest times here in Detroit, that's when our fight gets the strongest, right? So thank you so much, Maria. Your film is so beautiful, and I'm very excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Maria.
you so much. Thank you. And honestly, thank you all. It doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat, so we can wrap up there. I want to thank all of the panelists for their powerful contributions today and for the incredible work they're doing to create a cleaner, healthier future for Detroit and beyond. It's because of the work that you all are doing that we're able to stop these injustices from happening. I want to thank everyone who joined us for this important conversation and documentary screening. We hope that you were left inspired to take action in your own communities. Breathing Free will be available on YouTube later today, and we encourage you to share it widely. If there are any partners in philanthropy joining us today, we invite you to support GAIA's work in building a just zero waste future. Your support helps sustain grassroots movements like this, fighting toxic pollution and advancing real solutions that protect our communities and the planet. We also invite you to stay connected, sign up for our regional newsletter to receive updates, opportunities, and ways to take action. And if you're not already a member, we'd love for you to join our global network of change makers working to end waste and incineration. You'll find all the links in a follow-up email later today. Have a great day, and thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Good to see you all.
Thank you all.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Peace.
Take care.
Peace.